Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to another episode of Mavens of Manufacturing. We started a little bit early today, but that's okay. This week's episode is sponsored by Factory Fix, who is a manufacturing talent platform that combines the power of a talent network featuring over 400,000 skilled manufacturing pros and a recruiting platform built specifically for the manufacturing industry. So if you're having a hard time finding that skilled talent within your workshops and machine shops, be sure to reach out to them. They can help you, start on this platform and hopefully get some of that talent into the door for you. Today's guest is Danielle, or AKA Danny. Hello, Danny. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Megan?
Awesome. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I've been avoiding it if you couldn't tell.
uh,
Um,
it's Renham, R-E. It
Random. Okay,
sounds
I was
like
gonna say,
it's not Renham like a pig, but it's
see,
Renham.
that's where I was gonna go with it. So I'm glad that I didn't say it and I asked you first. But you're the senior quality engineer at WCCO Belting. So can you just start off the conversation with a little introduction of yourself and what WCCO Belting is and some of the products that they provide and the services that they provide?
Yeah. So like you said, my name is Danny Renham. I'm the senior quality engineer, which still seems weird to say. I don't know if I feel old enough to have senior in my title, but I'll rock with it. So at WCCO, we manufacture rubber belting products for the agriculture and industrial sectors. Very heavy in the ag sector, so looking at combines and headers that go on there, help harvesting small grains, all of those types of things. Um, Also, something weird for me, I was never involved in agriculture, didn't know anything about it, and now I'm responsible for handling the quality of it, which then goes on to our customers and is important for them to harvest food that all of us are surviving on. So kind of an important role for me, and something that I'm pretty proud of. But yeah, in quality, I manage a team of 8 people now, across all 3 shifts that we're working in manufacturing. We handle the quality all the way, starting with our suppliers, the quality of goods there, through the manufacturing process and our production floor, and then handling products with our suppliers as well as the end users, and making sure that their customers are getting good quality products. So that's kind of my role here.
So take us back to the beginning because you have a really interesting story. Like you mentioned before that when you were in college, you went to a career fair and you kind of were just there with a friend and not really talking to anybody. And then someone kind of just pulled you in and you were afraid to say no, which which a lot of us are guilty of. Like sometimes we say yes too much. But I'm
Yep.
kind of glad that you were afraid to say no because then you would have never been in the sector. So can you take us back into the beginning and let us know like what you were actually interested in and what you were pursuing in school and how you ended up where you are today?
Yeah, so I got into engineering in college because when I went on my official visit, uh, I met with the athletic academic advisor, and she told me that if I wanted to play softball in college, that I couldn't do architecture, which I was trying to decide between architecture and engineering. They just have a lot of studio hours, and so I was like, okay, perfect. Thanks, Kelly. I'll go with engineering, and I loved both. I just didn't know which one I wanted to go with. And so that was great. Didn't know what I wanted to do in engineering, so I went with mechanical. I actually talked to a professor at the college, at the university, and he said that, "Oh, you should. Are you sure you don't want to go into chemical engineering? That's where all the girls go into to do makeup." And I was like, it's like
Oh,
no, and no, I love chemical engineering. I really enjoyed the chemical classes and the chemistry classes, but that just wasn't something that I wanted to go into. And I ended up having him a couple times in class as a mechanical engineer, and I was like, see, this is where I'm supposed to be. Thank you, sir. But yeah, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do in engineering. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into design, if I wanted to go and work at some firm. I didn't really understand all of that. And manufacturing was
mhm.
not on the list at all. I am kind of from the city, and manufacturing was dark, dirty, dangerous. Like it wasn't something that we're even going to consider. So when I went
Right.
to one of my first career fairs, I was actually walking around with my friend, and he's very outgoing, and he was talking to all these different places, and I would just kind of like sit in the middle of the aisle, like waiting for him to be done. And then we go to the next spot, and I, would like say hi to some people and like maybe get a free pen. And I was just trying to get out of there. I was so nervous. But he went and actually talked to WCCO Belting, and at their booth there was two individuals. I can't remember who the other person was. Actually, I think it might have been Mark Byer. And he ended up talking to my friend. And another lady, she was there from WCCO, and she said, "Hey, can I help you?" And I responded with, "Oh, I'm just waiting for him." And she must have thought that I meant Mark. I did not. I was like, "I'm just trying to get out of here." And so she's like, "Well, I can talk to you." So I walk up and we start talking about engineering and what I'm looking for. I said, I guess I'm looking for a summer internship, but it's been pretty hard because of my softball schedule and how many practices we have and what summer lifts look like and all that kind of stuff. And she said, "Oh, I get that. We've had football players from NDSU come down and do internships. So we know how to be flexible with that." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And still trying to be like polite, but I didn't want to get into manufacturing. And they on their table just had like black rubber belts and they all looked the same. And I was like,
this is not interesting at all.
not quite my vibe. But then we ended up talking for the next 15 minutes about softball because her daughter coached down in Texas. And so we, talked for 2 minutes about engineering and 15 minutes about softball. And I leave and I say, "Thanks for talking with me." Gave her my resume. And I was like, perfect. Never have to think about that again. Let me get out of here. I got to go to softball practice. Well, fast forward like a week later and I get a call and they're like, "Hey, we want you to come down for an interview." And I was like, "Where are you guys at?" And they're like, "Wapton, 50 miles south." I was like, okay, like fine. And they tell me the interview dates and it's like a Thursday and Friday. I'm like, "Oh, I can't make it." Perfect excuse. "We're flying to Louisiana. Like, I'm not going to be able to make it." And they say, "We'll reschedule. We'll schedule your own day for you." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm not going to get out of this." So again, I can't say no. And so I end up going down and I'm sitting in the conference room, which is where I'm at right now. And I sit at a table and there's like 10 individuals around. There's way too many people for an interview with me. I don't know how it went because I blacked out. And all I remember is someone sitting next to me and they had like a little star on their resume. I was like, I don't know what's going on. There's no history of work on there. It's just softball and school. And somehow they gave me a star and I was like, then we go on a tour and it's all black rubber belting. I'm like, none of this is making any sense to me. They're like, "Oh, what position would you be interested in?" Again, I have no idea what I want to do. So I'm like, any would be fine. I leave. I'm like, perfect. Don't have to think about it again. Things are good. And they get a call. I get a call later back and they said, "What about the quality position?" Compared to all of my other offers that I have, which was zero, I had no other offers because, again, I'm not talking to anybody at the career fair. I was like, I suppose. And so that's kind of how it started. I started as a quality engineering intern, and that was back in 2016. And it's kind of been history from there. And now, like you mentioned, I go to career fairs and I get to talk to people and I get to engage with other individuals. And a lot of what we do, because not as many people know about WCCO Belting, is we'll grab people from the aisle. And I'm like, this is me all over again. I was that person and we're just grabbing them because you don't know who's right in that moment. And ends up being a star.
And there's a lot to unpack there too. So one, I think there was a big missed opportunity for the college professor who pitched chemical engineering to you, because for all of those who are in chemical engineering, it's not just makeup. Like there's a lot more.
There's so much
involved with chemical engineering. That's a lot of fun and it's interesting and there's a lot of problem solving and critical thinking that you have to do, and it deals with processes too and how things run in a factory or on a manufacturing floor. So it's not just about makeup. So I feel like that was a missed opportunity on his part because he didn't do a really good job pitching his specialties.
He just didn't want me in his department. He was like, "I think girls go to that one," and he's like, didn't have any idea why, and I was like,
That's funny. And then, kudos to WCCO though, because they were persistent.
yeah,
And I think that's great that they picked on the shy kid and were like, we're going to get her in here.
yeah,
And they saw something in you. And another thing is, too, which I think is really important, is you played sports. You were involved with softball.
yep,
And sports is a great area to build leadership and teamwork
oh yeah,
and different soft skills, which is very relevant to what we need in engineering and manufacturing today. So I
hmm
think that it was just a perfect storm. And yes, rubber belts don't sound really exciting. So I want to know from you personally, like, what was the moment during your internship where you're like, this is really freaking cool and I'm going to stay here? Because you work there now as their quality control
yep,
engineer.
yeah.
So what did they do right as that company to like, what is the terminology?
Yeah,
Hook,
hook, line,
bait,
and
and
sinker
sinker.
me.
Hook,
Yeah,
line, and sinker. There we go. I'm not a fisherman, so I screwed that up. But
yeah.
what did they do to get you to finally say yes? I'm going to stay here.
Um, well, first of all, it was the people. The people here at WCCO are unmatched. We really call it a work family, and that's what it feels like every day. I've always had great people on my team, great supervisors, great mentors, and so that number one. But then we connected how our belts are going all the way to an end customer who is feeding the world. Like this product is going on a combine and it's harvesting wheat, and then this wheat is going and it's making the food that we're eating at lunch. And getting to be a part of that, kind of seeing how my product that I'm supervising here is making a difference. And if we can make it correctly, we can see direct impacts with our customers. If we mess something up, it can cause downtime for the farmer. It can cause problems in their field. And farming is such a timing industry, right? Like you can't harvest all year, especially up in
Yeah.
North Dakota. And you can't, when the crop is ready, you have to be able to harvest. And our product is an integral part of that, and making sure that they have something that's good and that they can rely on is something that really stuck with me. We're important, and we were able to go and visit customers. We were able to go and see the machines that it's working on. Because like I said, during my tour, it's all black. It all looks
Right.
the same when you start. And we have thousands of different products. So once I started to learn and understand all the ins and outs of what makes this slat versus this cleat versus a double side seal versus a double V guide different, and how that affects the function of the product, all of those started to kind of click and make the gears start turning.
That's
And
really
so,
cool.
yeah, it like you said, it wasn't something that I saw myself in, but I love it. I love the impact that we can make. And actually, one of the things that I did as an intern, because I asked some people on the floor, I said, what does this product go to? And they weren't always sure. And so what I got to do as an intern was buy farm toys so that we could see what our products were going on, but just on a small scale, because we couldn't, drive a big old combine in the door.
Right.
But we could
That's
make
super.
that small connection.
And I'm not like real into the farming industry. Like I'm not a subject matter expert by any means, but I grew up with some farm kids and I would go hang out at their place and the machines that they had there were
Yeah.
just huge.
Yeah.
Like you see them from a distance and you don't think they're that big and then you get up close to them and it's like, holy crap, that's a house. Like I could
Yeah.
live in that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you bring up a really valid point in your story that exposure is vitally important to get people interested in the sector, especially for the components that seem to be boring. Um, first impression is everything, and sometimes we don't do enough like marketing our sector to the younger
Yep.
generations. We
Yeah.
actually have to show what value it is. And you mentioned it was that value that we're providing to our customers that got me really
Mm-hmm.
hooked. So I think that's one of the priorities we need to do, especially with these new generations coming in, because they all want to make a difference on a bigger
Mm-hmm.
scale and
Yep.
be a part of something that's bigger for themselves. So we have to connect those dots for them. I do want to pull up Hank. Hank said good afternoon from the junior board of directors and myself. Hank is awesome. He sits at lunchtime with his two daughters and they watch Mavens all the time. So I'm
Oh,
a
hi,
huge
Hank.
fan of Hank. He's parenting right by exposing his daughters to STEM. So keep doing that, Hank. Anyone else who's tuning in, if you have questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the comment section. I would love to pull you in and have you a part of the conversation. If you're here to just listen to, that's okay as well. So you do more at WCCO than just quality control engineering. You actually have a couple other passions there. So can you walk us through some of the stuff that you're doing to help create a positive culture at the company? Because you have this team called the crew team. Can you dive a little deeper into that?
Yeah, yeah. So our crew team is essentially our wellness team. CREW is an acronym. It stands for Culture of Respect, Engagement, and Wellness. We really wanted to incorporate kind of all of those factors into what we were doing. I kind of started leading that group in 2021, 2020, end of 2020 into 2021. We did a little bit of restructuring, changed it from the wellness team to the crew team. And now we have what's called a steering committee. And in the steering committee, we do a lot of leadership for those next gen leaders. Everybody who's on the crew team is currently a millennial or younger, which is great. You know, obviously you always have your leadership team, which is generally the older generations because they have the experience, they've made it that far in their career. But we wanted to find a way to really encourage our next generation leaders. And that was something that was really important to me. And I said, all right, well, I'm gonna do it. We're just gonna do it. And so what we organize at work is different events that not only help our employees, different fun events that might be a football toss or a basketball free throw contest to raise monies and funds for our local communities, our local organizations, whether that's for domestic abuse and violence or it's for our young kids in athletics. We've also done stuff with mental health. The other facets are we have monthly crew meetings is what we call them. We actually have a one in October next week. We're talking about mental health and handling different topics, not only with yourself, but with your family members and those around you. But every month we talk about a different topic, and they're generally not work related because part of being an employee, you're here for 8 hours, but we want to make sure that your other 16 that you're not here are also beneficial. So not only are you showing up for your family and your friends, but then you can also show up and be healthy at work because we don't want you to leave drained, and we want you to still be able to enjoy the other time. So we talk about different things. Yeah, like Pride Month. I always get to do the Pride Month topic. We talked about bike safety. We've talked about tons of different things, financial health, financial security, pretty much anything that is impacting our employees in their day-to-day life is something that we're interested in learning more about. We talked about home gardening, how to start your own like vegetable garden and be more sustainable, all those different types of things. Yeah.
That's one thing that I'm interested in doing because we have a big backyard and I want to do box gardens.
Yeah.
So I would have totally been part of that conversation just because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But I really appreciate that because, you know, when you are working at a company for so long during the day, and sometimes that 8 hours can extend into 10 hours or 12 hours, you do become a family and you got to hang out with each other and be able to tolerate each other. And I think those additional assets that you're providing your employees is really helpful for them to still be human at work even while they're out of work. But Carly wanted to know, how have crew team members progressed as part of crew's efforts? That's a great question.
Yeah. Okay. So and shout out to Carly for asking this. So one of the big things that we did and where we were able to really promote crew as a leadership development program with our leadership team, our official leadership team, was because we're kind of a flat organization, there's not a lot of movement up unless somebody retires or leaves. which we don't have very high turnover. So the opportunities to progress and to learn are kind of limited once you kind of get to that middle management level.
Okay.
And so what we wanted to do was really offer a low risk environment to learn, where you can learn to manage a meeting, you can learn presentation skills, time management, project management, all of those different things. You have low risk opportunities to learn it in this environment where you're hosting an event. So say my goal is to host a basketball free throw contest. I have to work on time management and volunteers because I need to host it through all 3 shifts. That's one of the kind of the opportunities in manufacturing, in a manufacturing environment, right? Is that generally you're running on multiple shifts. So it's not a 9 to 5 window that you're operating in. You're trying to fit something in that's available and accessible to everybody. That was one of the key things, was if we were going to offer it to one shift, it needed to be available for all shifts.
Right.
You also get to work on project management because you're handling all of the details, and then a little bit of money management if you're doing a fundraiser, how you're communicating with the community, and then communicating with marketing as well. You need to make sure that you have the correct signage, the correct communications. How are you communicating this event to everybody so that you have good numbers? And then you set a goal. We always have a goal that you have to set. So maybe you're trying to hit 40% of the company to participate in some way, whether they're just donating or they came to do a basketball, whether they came to shoot. And in crew and as an event like this, your goal of hitting 40%, if you hit only 35%, well, you get to do some lessons learned, but it's not detrimental to the company's success, right?
Right.
If you're project managing a new product launch and you need to get it out by November 1st and you miss that deadline and you're like, I can get it by December 5th. Okay, well, that has a much bigger consequence, right? Especially in agriculture where harvest seasons are only a certain time, or if you're trying to get it on a machine, you only have a certain amount of window time. So this lets all of our crew members and all of our steering committee members and any champions that we're championing to run those events, it lets them have a low risk opportunity to practice those skills, practice those leadership skills, practice those management skills. And then we always require lessons learned after an event so that you can improve on it the next time you run an event, or the next person running the event can learn from your mistakes. And that's been super impactful for all of our players, all of our team members. They also have the opportunity to run crew meetings, which helps on presentation skills and all of those types of things.
That's really cool. I think that's a great idea because, again, like, I feel like there's a disconnect to here, especially in the United States, that, we put kids through the schooling system and we expect them to just retain all the information that we're giving them. And then if they decide not to go to college, they have to go interview for jobs. And I remember my daughter, like, when she first got her first job, she came to me and she's like, I don't know what to wear. I don't know how to answer questions. Like, I'm more used to texting. Can't we do this via text? And I'm like, nobody does interviews via text, Danny. You can't do that. And she's like, but it's just so much easier. And I'm like, you got to learn how to have face-to-face communication. And then if they go off to college too, we're not really like showing them how to like write essays or anything like that. And then I'm not a numbers person. Like, I suck at math. So like anything financial, I need someone to double check because I'm afraid I'm always going to get it wrong. So you're creating a fun way by, developing these events and then kind of adding that stuff in secondary. And it's like a fun way to learn. So that's a great idea. We have Katie on here. She says, hey gang, TGIF. Katie is known as the manufacturing hype girl. She is one of the sweetest people ever. And I found out that her and I both love geology. So we are both nerds about rocks and stuff. So she's a pretty cool person if you're not following her. Outside of, the stuff that you're doing internally for your employees and getting them to connect with one another and having these events that could possibly bring in, your community, are there other things that you're doing for community outreach in terms of educating, family members, their kids, community leaders that aren't in manufacturing about what WCCO is and why it's important in your area?
Yeah, so one of the big things that we like doing, we've had what's called like open houses. And so we invite the family members in, get a tour of the plant. We kind of run through a tour and let people do different trainings or different experiences. But it's also the local community does what's called Manufacturing Day, where a bunch of schools get to go around and visit different manufacturing areas. So that's something that our community does that is amazing. I wish I would have.
Which is coming up next month.
Yes, it is. Yes, the Manufacturing Day is next Friday, I believe, right? It's the first Monday in October. Yep. And so that's something amazing that our local community schools do. And we set up the plant so that you can go around and have tours and kind of see all the different careers that exist in manufacturing, right? When you think of manufacturing as someone who is not aware of it, all you think of is the production floor part. But there's different careers that are involved in finance and HR, engineering, all those different kinds of things, maintenance, all of those things have to be a part of the business for it to run. And those aren't necessarily communicated as much. And definitely not always glamorized. Everybody still has that connotation, like I said, that manufacturing is dark, dirty, and dangerous. And finding ways to change that narrative, finding ways to make manufacturing cool, show that you get to make things with your products and with your hands, and those products are changing the world. And we always know that manufacturing is kind of one of the core businesses and core drivers of the U.S. economy. And that's so impactful. And being able to see yourself as part of that can really make a change for a lot of people, right? It's all how you market it and how you talk about it with people. And so that's one of the things. Yeah.
I agree 100%. We definitely need to be better at marketing what manufacturing and engineering is and how exciting it is. And I'm grateful that not all manufacturers know how to do that, because then I wouldn't have a job creating their narrative for them. So, I mean, if you're having a hard time, shameless plug, I'm a writer, come contact me. But you also do a summer internship program as well. And I would like to know a little bit more about that, because I feel like that hands-on experience and bringing kids in and actually showing them the processes from start to finish and, educating them on what certain companies do is vastly important to kind of, if they're doubting where they want to go, that's going to convince them. And again, I give kudos to WCCO for being persistent with you and reaching out to you, because I don't feel like enough companies actually do that. If they see a shy kid, they're going to steer away from the shyness and go to someone who might be too vocal, and then that might not be the right fit. So what does this summer internship look like, and how do you inspire these kids to come join the dark side with us?
So we go to the career fairs. We generally go to the NDSU career fair because it's just located north. We've also been to the UND career fair, which is up in Grand Forks.
Okay.
And so we have had different booths there where we are grabbing those different kids. And we actually bring the toys that I bought so that people can see it's not just the rubber belting. This is what is going on. We actually have some conveyors that our product development team, they hooked up and printed our own rubber belts on one of the conveyors. And then it's hooked up to a battery and motor, so it runs. And that's generally an eye catcher. But yeah, we have to reach out and we have to grab kids off the floor, because WCCO is not the largest company around here. And so not everybody knows, especially when we go up to Fargo and we're located next to, Bobcat and John Deere and Case and all of these big companies that people know about. So we thrive on the shy kids and we grab them off, and then we get to explain the benefits. This is an internship where your ideas and your projects matter. And what we like to do is, one of our posters that we have in the booth has the intern projects. And so we'll talk about those, because a lot of internships can be kind of busy work, which is fine. I mean, that's an internship. But because we were such a small team, and because we are such a small team, we need interns who are going to come in and make a difference. And to be able to make a difference, you have to learn a lot.
Yeah.
And so we found great success in that, because you really get a taste for what manufacturing is. You get to design products, you get to design tools, you get to order them, you get to spend money, you get to make product changes, you get to do training, you kind of get to see the whole project through. And then one of the really unique things is that you also get to work with multiple departments. So we generally have manufacturing engineering interns, we have design interns, we've had marketing interns, we have customer service, IT, finance, all those different types of internships. And as a small company, you generally have a small group of interns, and we only have one location and one facility. So everybody is coming in. And like when I was an intern, we'd all eat lunch together and talk about what projects we were working on. And that just kind of creates a cycle. And then they'll go back to school, and everybody talks and say, how was your internship, or what did you get to do? And because of the success that we've had, and because of the projects that they actually get to work on and have their hands in, they brag about it to their friends who said, oh, I worked at this company and all they did was enter in data. Oh, well, this at WCCO, I got to create a new lift, and I got to create new tools. And we worked with the operators, and we found out that this was going to work and this was going to work. So we implemented that. We got to design this, and I got to be part of a new product launch. And being able to have an impact as an intern and as a young student really can get you excited about manufacturing. And whether you choose to come and work with us at WCCO or not, you've gotten a taste of what manufacturing can be and how you can really make a difference. And I think that's what's important to us in the long run, is that change in the narrative of manufacturing.
You actually gave them an opportunity to be a real life employee instead of just a kid delivering coffee or entering data, because no one's going to want to work.
No.
I mean, maybe they want to sit at a computer and enter data all day, but I would be more interested in like problem solving and working together as a team. So I think that's really cool. We have a few more comments. Katie was saying geology rocks. Yes, it does. No pun intended there. I see what you did there, Katie. Manufacturing Day, Manufacturing Month. And then Hank said, we watched how it's made in like shows. The girls love them, would love to tour plants with them sometime. I think that's a great idea. Yeah. They really need to make that show more popular. And there's another company called Project MFG. My friend Andrew Crow is hosting it, and it's called Clash of the Trades. They need to broadcast that everywhere, because that's just cool how they're getting people in different areas. So one of the shows he hosted was CNC machining focus. So it was these teams, and whoever was the best team ended up winning like $100,000. And I'm like, that's awesome. And then Katie, manufacturing is the driving force in a healthy economy. U.S. manufacturing contributes like 200. I think you have an extra number in there. Billion to our GDP. Maybe not.
Or it's 2 trillion. Could be that.
2 trillion, something like that. That's okay. We'll get that stat fixed later. But I think that's really cool that you're allowing them to actually experience what it's like to be an employee there. And I think that's a missed opportunity a lot of manufacturers aren't recognizing. In order for the community to really understand what your purpose is in the community, you should open up your doors, invite people to come in, share your secret sauce or whatever you want to call it, and then get them excited about having an internship or an apprenticeship while they're in high school. I think that's the way to do it. You also do other things outside of working with WCCO. Jamie mentioned that you do a lot of talks. So can you talk about that a little bit? Like when you go and you talk to a group of people, what are you talking about? And how is that elevating the brand narrative of WCCO, but also the brand narrative for manufacturing and engineering as a whole?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say, Hank, if you're ever in North Dakota, come on down for a tour. We're always open. I'd love to give you guys a tour, you and the girls. But yeah, I do a couple different talks. I actually am going to be on a SWE panel, so Society of Women Engineers, coming up in November. And so we'll talk about different parts of manufacturing. And not everybody on the panel is from manufacturing. So that's kind of where I get to have the voice of what it's like to be in manufacturing, what it's like to be a female engineer in manufacturing. I did a talk last year for SWE again about my experience, my journey to where I'm at right now. A lot of that includes, the trials and tribulations of being a female engineer. Also has been a lot of parts of my journey as a queer individual and different experiences that I've had in college, for better, for worse. So I've gotten to give talks like that. I've given different panels I just did a panel. Actually, I got to do it with my wife, which was really fun, for NDSES, which is our local college. They have a group of student leaders, and I got to talk about my experience as a queer individual in manufacturing. And she got to talk about hers in social work and in athletics and all those kinds of things. So that's a lot of fun. Cool. Yeah, my background experiences are, as a queer individual, as an athlete, as a victim of sexual violence, all those different things, a female engineer, all of those different kind of things have shaped who I am, and what I get to talk about. So all of that kind of culminates as the experience that I've had at WCCO. This is my one and only career that I've had. I've had multiple different titles at WCCO, starting with quality intern, being in the lean process engineer, quality control engineer, and then finally as now the senior quality engineer, running a lot of different programs. We've talked about the employee suggestion program. I run our ISO auditing program, and then obviously the crew team as well. All of those kinds of things are really shaping who I am, and what I get excited to talk about. For a long time, I was the only female engineer at work. Now we have two, so we doubled. We're really jumping up here.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, and what we've talked about a lot is how do we get more women in not only at WCCO, but in manufacturing, in engineering, because we've always said, well, why don't we hire more? Okay, well, I have multiple job postings and I had one female apply out of 100 males. Well, I can't just hire her because I want more diversity. You're looking for the people that are most qualified, and you're not looking at names, you're not looking at backgrounds, all those kinds of things, and you're trying to take out those biases. But again, if I don't have women applying and if I don't have diversity applying, I can't hire it.
Right.
And so being the advocate to those groups, being the authentic and visible and showing up in those areas, letting people know that this is something that you can pursue. This is something that you can find your passion and find ways to help people and do the things that you love doing. And it can be in manufacturing, it can be in engineering. Those are the things that just showing up, being authentic are the things that will get others to join.
I love that too, because, this sector does have a bad reputation in certain areas, especially if you're a woman, especially if you're a member of LGBTQ plus. Like, there's a lot of negativity that sneaks up on LinkedIn, like we all see it.
Yeah.
But there's so much more good to it, and I feel like you're a great example of that. And it's not like, hey, we're gonna shove this in your face because we're so proudful, but it's important for me to share who I am authentically, because there's someone, there's another queer little girl probably who's afraid to express herself, afraid to talk about it, and she likes math, she likes science, she likes putting stuff together, but if she doesn't see herself in the sector, then she's not going to want to join. And I have a really her name is Anissa Mutana. She is an owner of a machine grinding company. She's Muslim. She's awesome. And I went to go see her talk, and she said that she's trying to empower without dividing. And I love that. And I want to add to that, where you're empowering, diversifying, but you're not dividing. So
Yeah.
it's not like we want to take over and shove everybody out that's already been here. Because a lot of people who have been in the sector for the years have paved the path for us. So we still need them, and we still need to close those gaps. So I really love your story, because I think it's important just to show, like, hey, this is who I am, you know, and that's going to mean someone who might be shy, just like I was, to come join this sector. So really inspirational. I love that. Natalie got on here. She's like, enjoying the conversation. As a woman and a newbie with a little over 1 year in the industry, it's great to take this all in. See, and I love that. I love that we're getting more girl newbies into the sector, because some of it was real negative for a long time, but it's changing and it's so much fun. And more women are coming in. They're buying businesses themselves. They're becoming owners. You're a great example of moving up the ladder. You started as an intern, and now they like totally hooked you in, and you're working your way up the ladder. So definitely the place to be. Well, we're just about out of time, Danny, and I'm like sad because I could probably talk to you for hours. But in terms of closing thoughts, if you had one ask for our audience, what would your biggest ask be for them today?
I think the biggest thing, and I'm gonna switch what I was gonna maybe say before, going off what you had just mentioned. What was her, Anissa? Was encouraging, but don't divide, is no matter who you are, show up authentically and encourage those around you. I've had amazing mentors on my team. Both my supervisors, Travis and Rod, have been amazing advocates for me. I've had great teams that have put me in positions to be on a podcast like this, to share my story. And even if you aren't the female engineer, even if you aren't the shy kid, you can show up and you can advocate for those that are around you. Bring them with you. If you have a new opportunity, grab that shy kid with you and bring them with. If you're a dad like Hank, sit down and watch how it's made with your girls, and say, this can be a space that you can find yourself in. This can be an opportunity that you can have. If this is something that excites you, show up, be there, and don't be afraid to be yourself. There's so many opportunities for all of us, and whether you're a trailblazer or you're following the trail that someone else has paved for you, don't be afraid to follow what you want to do, follow your passions, and find your voice in what you're doing there.
I think those are all really great asks, especially the one like with the shy kid. If you notice someone not speaking up, but they look like they're itching to say something, encourage them to talk, or pull them in and just be like, oh, give us your resume and we'll call you. We'll be flexible. Like, just be the proactive one in building up their confidence, because there's a lot of introverts out there, but I feel like if they're encouraged enough and someone believes in them enough, they start to be more of an outrovert, like myself, because I was hugely shy, but now working together. But if anybody wants to learn more about WCCO Belting or connect with you and find out more about what upcoming events you have, where should they go?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn under Danielle Renham. I have the same purple polo in the shirt that shows up on the promo. So if you see that one, you're found the right place. You can also find WCCO Belting on Facebook and LinkedIn. Generally, my marketing team does a great job at letting people know where I'll show up again. Awesome. So appreciate them for that. Those are probably the two best options.
Great. Well, Danny, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. I hope I run into you in person, because I'd like to give you a hug. I think you're amazing. And to all that came in and commented, thank you so much for tuning in again to Mavens of Manufacturing. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and be prepared for next month, because it's our favorite month. It's manufacturing month. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Meaghan.
We know hiring quality manufacturing talent isn't always easy, and that there can be a lot of moving parts. That's why Factory Fix is introducing a powerful new tool, Talent Text. No more candidate no-shows. Talent Text allows you to connect with candidates up to 5 times faster than you or even the best recruiter can. Job openings happen overnight. Candidates fall by the wayside, and emails get buried and forgotten. Through 3-directional chat, Factory Fix Talent Pros help put you in the hand of a highly skilled worker within seconds. Find quality faster at Factory